The next legendary banner has arrived, and you probably have no orbs for it thanks to our back-to-back-to-back weekly banners. Now, for those of you who have held on to save your orbs or maybe have a bit of cash to spend, this banner features an 8% 5-star rate with 0 chance for non-focus units. That means that any 5-star unit you summon from this banner will be one of these 12 heroes, so it's a great opportunity to summon for newer players who may just want any new 5-stars. If you do summon and you do get one of these units, then this video will help you cover what useful skills you can pull from everyone here if you aren't planning to keep extras, or maybe you just want to see what color is worth pulling on. But first, let's talk about our new legendary hero. Legendary Young Tiki is here to shock the world, and coming right after Legendary Marth, I guess it does kind of make sense. Legendary Tiki is an Earth legendary hero and her bonus stat will be defense. Now as for her class, it's a bit odd because this tiny young dragon is our first blue armored dragon. Yes, an armored dragon. If that logic confuses you, well, it's really just because A, armored units score really well in the arena, and B, having legendary heroes for their stat boost also make them useful for arena. Therefore, Young Tiki is an armored unit to get the whales to spend more money on trying to get her. She also has the added bonus of abusing the overpowered armor only skills, so yeah, I'm pretty sure Legendary Tiki will be worthwhile to get. Now, since this video is being made before the banner is out, I do not have access to Legendary Tiki's stats. Regular Young Tiki kind of had a balanced set of everything, and Summer Young Tiki kind of cranked up her speed to 11, so it's possible that Legendary Young Tiki could be a fast armored unit like the Black Knight or Amelia. If that ends up being the case, then that could be pretty scary to face. However, you'll notice that she comes with Bold Fighter by default, and with Bold Fighter, armor units do not need high speed to double, so it's possible Tiki gets a ton more defenses instead of extra speed. Now if you watch my video about Garen, when we talked about all the Tikis, we went over that Young Tiki gets a trainee boost, which is basically free stats. Summer Young Tiki also got the trainee boost, which doesn't make it hard to believe that Legendary Young Tiki could also get even more stats on top of her being an armored unit. She could end up with the highest BST in the game, but we'll have to wait and see about that. I'm predicting she won't be super slow, and there is a slight chance she is a really fast armored unit. Now to talk about her unique weapon, Divine Mist, it's actually pretty simple to understand. First off, it's effective against dragons, so Legendary Young Tiki becomes the second unit in the game to actually be a blue dragon killer. As a reminder, Garen's Breath of Blight makes him immune to dragon effectiveness, so I guess that might have been a hint as to what was coming. In addition to dragon effectiveness, Divine Mist also has distant counter, and it's got the usual adaptive damage against ranged units. There isn't that much to say about Divine Mist in my opinion. It is straight up better than the 2 Grima's Expiration distant counter Dragon Breath, so I guess that's kind of sad that a little girl has a deadlier breath than those two. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Lightning Breath Noe, so just expect Legendary Tiki to be just as, if not more, annoying. Now Legendary Tiki brings a new A skill to the game, and I'm confident it will be inheritable. Fierce Breath is just the attack version of Steady and Warding Breath. It grants extra special cooldown reduction when a unit is attacked, and for most units, that was the most important part of that skill, not the extra plus for defense or resistance. With Fierce Breath granting plus for attack, you can use it on anyone who didn't really need the extra defense or res beforehand. Now you can just get even more damage, and since most of these builds also use Quick Riposte or a similar guaranteed follow-up skill, that plus 4 attack is doubled since you are hitting 2 times. This gives Fierce Breath a whole lot of value, and honestly, if you attack a Fierce Breath unit and you cannot either one-shot them or take them out in 2 hits, then you're most likely going to die. 2 of the best users of this skill could be the Black Knight and Zelgius if they are running Black Luna with some way of getting a -1 special cooldown. That way you hit them once and then they retaliate with Black Luna, which is possibly the strongest special in the game still. For Young Tiki, I'm sure she will have a decent attack stat, and all you really need to give her is the Quick Riposte Sacred Seal to abuse Fierce Breath with higher turn specials. Her default Moonbow will proc after taking a single attack, so that is a fine option as well. Remember, she also has Bolt Fighter, so whether you are attacking Tiki or letting her attack you, if you cannot kill her in 1 hit or aren't using guard, then a unit is going to take a Moonbow proc guaranteed. If you attack Tiki and your unit doubles with Tiki also being able to double, then you take 2 Moonbows, so probably shouldn't let that happen. Legendary Tiki's C skill is what I assume is her unique uninheritable skill. It's called With Everyone, and at the start of the turn, if Tiki is adjacent to an ally, then those allies and Tiki herself will receive a +5 defense and res field buff for 1 turn. So it's kind of like a different version of the even/odd wave type skills, but it activates every turn and Tiki can buff herself. However, if Tiki does not buff an ally that turn, then she will not get the self buff, which is unlike how the wave skills work. Having only one movement as an army unit, Tiki should be sticking nearby to her team in most scenarios, so this skill should not be that hard to keep active. Plus 5 defense and res is very nice, and it's almost like a Fire Emblem team buff for all unit types, except Tiki can also buff herself. Honestly, this is a pretty great skill and it's really simple to put into practice. I'm sure Tiki will have a decent defense and res stat herself, so the extra plus 5 to both will be useful. With a distant counter dragon killing weapon, a bunch of stats from her armored status, fierce breath, bold fighter, and with everyone, I think Legendary Tiki will be a very good unit. With how well army units get treated, I see no reason why you won't be seeing Tiki in the arena in the near future. Moving on to the rest of the heroes on this banner, we have our red group in the top left with Legendary Ike, Bridal Tharja, and Carla. Top right we have our blue units with Legendary Tiki, Spring Katria, and Micaiah. Bottom left is green with Legendary Hector, Spring Sharena, and Brave Ike. Last is colorless with Legendary Grima, Maribel, and Jafar. Now let's discuss each unit a bit more in detail and we'll see all the skills up for offer. So for new watchers, I've listed all the skills from each of these units and I've labeled them either yellow for really rare and powerful skills, purple is for good skills but not necessarily super hard to get, and uninheritable skills are in red. Skills not colored are super common or just not great. For the red group, you can see we have a lot of yellow, and we'll start with Legendary Ike. He is an infantry sword unit who is great against physical threats and can deal with mages too. Ragno is a distant counter weapon, and Radiant Aether is just Aether on a 4-turn cooldown instead of 5. Warding Breath is a really good skill, and as we talked about earlier, any of the breath skills are incredibly sought after because their cooldown reduction effects are so powerful. Ike also has Defense Tactic, which is a sacred seal, but it's still hard to come by if you want it as a C skill. If you played the story enough, then you got a free Legendary Ike, so if you get an extra one you don't want, then he is great skill fodder. Bridal Tharja is a really offensive mage with that scary 35 attack and speed stat line. She is pretty frail, but she can dish out good damage. Must spell Fire Posy grants her even more speed, and she gets bonus attack and speed during combat based on the amount of allies near Tharja. With attack and speed bond, Bridal Tharja is ready to hit hard and double often. Her rally attack and speed is a good skill, and speed feint, while a bit more niche, is only from Bridal Tharja. A good fast mage with great skills to fodder as well. Carla is one of the newer challengers to that Ira or Mia spot on the team for a super fast offensive sword unit. Vassal's Blade is a bit complicated, but essentially if Carla outspeeds her opponent, she does extra damage. With base 40 speed and even speed wave to buff herself, Carla is a very scary attacker. With Wrath, she can dish out incredible damage when she procs her special, and overall, she definitely holds her own in that group of fast infantry sword units. As you can tell, red is very good with good units and an insane amount of rare skills. Warding Breath, Attack and Speed Bond, and Wrath are definite must-haves. For blue, it's also filled with some pretty good skills. We've discussed Legendary Tiki enough, but if you get extras or just don't care about her, then Fierce Breath and Bold Fighter are great for inheriting. Spring Katria is a blue mage cavalier who is pretty fast with 35 speed. She is geared up for a more offensive mage role, and her weapon, Hugin's Egg, debuffs the enemy with the lowest res stat with -5 attack and defense. She also has Chill Res, which hits the enemy with the highest res stat with a -7 res debuff. She can definitely be an annoying foe. Drive Speed is a good skill too, but it's on a few units and it's also a 4-star skill now. Last is Micaiah, who is also a blue mage but an infantry one. She has a great 35 attack and a monstrous 35 base res, but does have an average speed stat with the usual low defense stat for mages. Micaiah brings a lot of utility to the team since her Thorny Tome is effective against cavalry and armored mages. She can one-shot a good amount of red units, which is very useful. Her Sacrifice Assist skill is uninheritable, but it lets her heal allies in exchange for her own health. Useful if you don't have a healer. Her rarest skill is Distant Defense, but it's a very common sacred skill, so it's not a must-have unless you really want it in the A slot. Guard and Drive Attack are also good skills, but probably not worth inheriting over Distant Defense. The green group is pretty enticing as well, so let's go over it. Legendary Hector is back, and honestly, I think he is my favorite Hector. Thunder Armbands is so good for PvE content because it can stop enemy follow-ups, and that allows Hector to tank so many dangerous threats, even if you red mages. With Distant Counter and Vengeful Fighter, he can also clean up a lot of attackers since those two skills are so powerful. Ostia's Pulse isn't inheritable, but it's a nice support skill. Again, I really like it for PvE content. Spring Sharana is an infantry green mage, definitely similar to a fast mage like Nino. Her Moonin's Egg Tome debuffs the enemy with the highest speed with a -5 attack and res debuff. To buff her allies, Sharana has rally attack and speed and res tactic, both good skills. Her A skill is Swift Stance, which grants +4 speed and res when attacked. It is not the stance counterpart to Swift Sparrow, that would be Kestrel Stance. As for Live for Bounty, it's just a quality of life skill that grants extra shards and crystals from the training tower, useful for new players without a ton of resources. Last, we have Brave Ike, who is also Choose Your Legends Ike. He is an infantry axe unit and pretty similar to his legendary counterpart. Brave Ike doesn't have distant counter, but Irvin grants damage reduction on consecutive hits, which can make Brave Ike a bit hard to take down. He also has Steady Breath, which is definitely the skill you should take from him. With the green group having distant counter, vengeful fighter, and steady breath, it's a pretty nice color to chase after. Even Sharana isn't that bad herself. At this point, I'll take a legendary healer next so I don't have to keep talking about legendary female Grima. She is a good unit and the only colorless dragon, but it doesn't seem like she's going anywhere soon. If you want res smoke, then she is currently the only option for this skill, and I think it's a good debuff too. Speaking of healers, Maribel is back, and for those unaware, she had the pleasure of dethroning Elise from being the best offensive cavalry healer. Now if you got Brave Veronica, then you probably don't need Maribel, but the two are still very both powerful. Maribel is the only healer with Trilemma Plus, so if you want to pull off some crazy strategies, then she's the only option you got. Maribel also has Dazzling Staff, which is great, and Staff Valor is good because healers gain SP very slowly. Adding a 2x multiplier to that on top of other multipliers helps lessen that grind a lot. Our last unit is Jafar, who I think is highly underrated. His Deadly Dagger with a upgraded Refine is so dang strong for PvE content because it can stack with Poison Strike and Savage Blow to deal huge amounts of AoE damage. Don't let his low attack stats scare you, Jafar's nickname the Angel of Death is very much deserved. One of the more unique dagger units, I highly recommend you give him a spin if you get him. Overall, I think Legendary Tiki will definitely be worth summoning for, and I hope you're ready to see her in the arena. As for skill inheriting, I think summoning red and green is really good this time, and pretty much every unit is good anyway. If you're on the fence about summoning, then just remember that the Norian Dust and Generals of Muspel banners are both still going to be here for a while. The next banner, I believe, is a special banner in October, so I assume it will be this year's Halloween banner. It will probably also bring last year's Halloween banner back too, and Halloween Jacob should be on that one. I know he's a popular unit. That's it for this video, and I have absolutely no orbs, so I will be not summoning on this banner. If you are summoning, then good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.